Allow me to extend a warm welcome to all the viewers on the internet and around the world. It is sunrise on YouTube, morning on Facebook, noon on Twitter, midday on Threads, afternoon on Twitch, sunset on Instagram, and evening on Rumble. I am your host, the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, and the master of the deceptive arts. We are broadcasting live directly from the sanctum of solitude and the citadel at the end of time. Sun Tzu says, "He who exercises no forethought but makes light of his opponent is sure to be captured by them." Good evening, everyone. This is the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, and the master of the deceptive arts. And I was thinking today that we should continue our discussion about lies and deception, and we will have this discussion very, very often. And as we continue, I'd like us to dive deeper into our philosophy and our manuscript written by the Grand Master of the Deceptive Arts, Sun Tzu himself. And as a student of the deceptive arts, you will need to know when, where, and how to employ your deceptive strategies, and specifically your lies. As I've said before, you need to be able to employ effective lies to everyone, anyone, and all the time, anywhere that you are. For people who believe that truth, morality, and honesty, these values are somehow better than lies and falsehoods and deception, I would like to offer a counter hypothesis. Consider this. The values that are truth, honesty, morality, these are nothing more, quite frankly, than learned philosophies, ideas, and mental concepts invented by another fallible man. They are no more real or tangible or concrete as a lie, as a dream, a wish, or even an imagined event or some type of future outcome, a prediction. All right? You cannot hold honesty in your hand, and you cannot deposit it in the bank. All right? It is as fleeting as a breeze, right? And you really need to let go of all of that, because there are some men who, quite honestly, hold on to their morality and their honesty and their virtues and their self-righteousness and their good deeds as if those things are actually plausible, right? As if having that philosophy and that way of life is any better than practicing the deceptive arts. Truth, morality, and honesty are, quite frankly, used, by choice, right? And selectively, right? That's the word I'm looking for. They are used selectively. And the arbiter of these so-called values, they decide how these values are distributed, and they decide the standard of those values on a case by case basis. There is really no standard of honesty, whereas lies are quite frankly provable and more tangible, right? This implies an inconsistency in the truth, right? If you, the subjective person, right? If you are the one who decides when and how the truth is distributed, this in itself is inconsistent, right? If the truth must be told and be told from one person's point of view, by definition, it cannot be objective. It has to thereby be subjective, right? And the truth is supposed to be objective, right? It's supposed to be the same for everyone. But the truth is not the same for everyone. And if the truth is not objective, then it has to be biased, right? If the person telling the truth is not objective in themselves, in which most cases they are not, that means that person is biased, and that is where the inconsistency is, right? And that inconsistency is going to lead to a contradiction. And as always, a contradiction is a lie, right? The truth and morality and honesty and virtues are themselves, therefore, deceptive tools, right? With this contradiction, they must be deceptive tools, or at the very least, they are tools of manipulation. And what do I mean by that, right? I mean that if you trust me, right, and you trust my words, and I tell you something, there's a great chance that you will act on those words, right? And anything that makes you act outside of your own plans, your own vision, your own expectations is in itself a manipulation, right? Sun Tzu says, you must impose your will on the enemy, but never allow the enemy to impose his will on you, right? And if you trust someone and they tell you something and you act upon it, then they are imposing their will on you, right? And that's why you got to get that vasectomy. Before we get too far into this conversation, you got to get that vasectomy so you don't have people imposing their will on you. And through deception, powerful deception and lies, you can impose your will on them. But we really need to get you to forego this honesty, these values, this truth, all these morals, right? And these things will make you act against your own interest and even resist your own instincts. This trying to be good, this trying to be righteous, right? You are literally acting against your own interests, and you are becoming inefficient. Many times you put yourself in a position where you have to make compromises. Now that's the worst thing you can do, is compromise with a counterpart, because you really don't know where these people are coming from and what their point of view is. So every time you compromise to whatever it is, in fact, every compromise is a capitulation, right? That means you are surrendering something to them, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to surrender nothing. You don't want to surrender anything. That's why you have to employ deceptive techniques, right? That's why you have to use lies and deception and misdirection and redirection, right? Because because what they've done is they've neutralized your strengths, your your power, your physical power. They've neutralized that. They've taken away logic, so you can't be logical. You have to be emotionally intelligent, which is not a thing. There's no such thing as being emotional and intelligent at the same time. So, what they've done is they've neutralized all of your powers in society, downplayed all of your skills, the things that actually are valuable, and then they've uplifted in a very masterful sort of cultural victory. They've uplifted all of their values. And then what they've done is decided that we have no classifications, right? So they've muddied the water, and you can identify as one classification or another according to your whims. This is a very masterful piece of deception, right? It's deceptive because if you don't know what anything means, that means anything can mean anything. So you can be emotional and intelligent at the same time, which is a contradiction, right? How can you be angry? Like, think about it, right? Anger is an emotion. And this is not the emotion that they're talking about, right? If you're angry and you're being violent, you cannot be intelligent at the same time, right? But what they've done is they've chosen positive emotions, what they call love and nurturing and caring and supportiveness. And they've said that if you can identify this need and feel it, then you are being intelligent. And then they've foregone every other emotion like aggression, violent behavior, dangerous tendencies, addiction, right? These are all emotive things and emotionally driven, cheating, affairs. These are equal emotions. So you could be just as good at having affairs and cheating and lies and deception and still be intelligent. I don't think that's what they meant. Because you can't be angry and violent and aggressive and moody and rude and petulant and still be intelligent at the same time. You can't do that, right? So, how is an angry person who is speeding down the street, how is that intelligent? It's not. You can't be both emotional and intelligent at the same time. You need to learn to resist this, right? You need to learn to resist this. And the way to do it is not to try and uncover the truth, but rather to take it for granted that you're being lied to. Just be paranoid about it, you know? Lying is standard operating procedure in the romance wars. You're not going to get any kind of honesty from the counterpart. Lying is standard operating procedure, and you need to use lies as your weapons in the romance war, in your relationship, in your marriage, at work, with your pastor, with whoever you're meeting with. Lie to everyone all the time, and you need to resist the philosophy of morality. It's just one philosophy among many philosophies, right? You must see clear beyond the cloudy and often fallible fallacies, the fallible philosophies, I beg your pardon, of morality, right? And accept that deception is the truth of humanity. Deception is the truth of humanity. It is our fundamental basic instinct and our primary defense mechanism. In truth, it is a skill that is painfully underdeveloped, right? And like every weapon, you must train it and train with it often in order to wield it effectively. You have to see deception not just as a philosophy, but as a powerful weapon and as a skill that you need to train again and again and again so that you can get really good at it. And you need to be prepared with it. You need to have your words just ready. It has to be instinctive. Don't pretend that people aren't lying to you. Rather, go into this with your own lies already prepared. That way, you can be effective, right? And this is what we're doing here. We are trying to develop your deceptive skills, but first trying to get you into the right frame of mind, right? You need to start to accept that everyone is lying to you so that you can start to prepare your lies for them. And if you think that they're not lying to you, this is a problem. This is a very serious problem if you think people aren't lying to you. If you think that people on this earth, in this planet, at this time, are all going to start telling you the truth all of a sudden, that's very disappointing. That's very disappointing. That means that your deceptive skills are very underdeveloped because everyone has been lying to you since the day you were born, and they are going to continue to do so. They're either lying by telling you something or they're lying by omission. There's something that they're keeping from you. And if you found out about it, you would disqualify them, right? You would cut them out of your life, or you'd go in a different direction. You cannot doubt that for a second. Every single person, your friends, your family, your wife, your daughter, your kids, your son, your niece, your nephew, your cousin, the police, the lawyers, the judges, everyone's hiding something. Everyone has something that right now they don't want you to know, because if you found out, it would discredit and disqualify them. Every single person on earth, right? You just don't know what that is because you need to develop your deceptive skills. You just need to be paranoid all the time and get used to it, right? Get used to it. Get used to taking extra defenses for yourself. You need to develop this skill, and you must be proactive, right? You must be proactive about this. And you have to practice and practice often and regularly in order to improve it and keep those skills sharp. That's why you have to keep reading The Art of War. That's why you have to keep listening to people who are teaching you about deception. Don't listen to these people telling you that you need to go out there and be honest with these people, because they're lying to you. These counterparts are all lying to you. They've been lying to their parents, they've been lying to their friends, and now they're lying to you. And there's people telling you to go out there and look for love with these people. And all they'll do is get you to pay their bills. Just think about that. You're out here looking for a faithful, loyal, committed partner to build and share a life with. And they just need somebody to pay this debt and pay these bills. No, man, you deserve better than that. You deserve to know upfront that people are lying to you, and you need to prepare for it. I know it can be disappointing to know that you now yourself have to be a liar, but you need to think of lies as just a philosophy, or at least a meaningful tool that you can access anytime that you want, especially in this climate. Because you're not going out there with no weapons and no tools in a world that's really, you can tell, is wild. It's wilder than it's ever been. And here you are trying to be honest with everyone. And the minute you are honest, they attack the thing that you're being honest about. And that's very unfortunate. But this is an indication that you need to evolve new and better skills. Right? You need to follow this philosophy. Not because you want to or not, but because you have to. And just consider the fact that while this is a very powerful philosophy of deception and lies, and I call it exactly what it is, because you're just going to be lying to everyone about everything. The other philosophy of morality and truth, that philosophy was imposed on you. And every time you lied, you were beaten. Every time you used deception, you were beaten or punished or criticized, right? To the point where you feared deception. You need to get over that fear and you need to get back to your primary instincts because you were right to lie the first time. And the reason they had to train it out of you was so that they can get you to a situation where you'll say what they tell you to say and do what they tell you to do. This is perfectly fine if you're a child, but it's unacceptable as an adult. You cannot be trusting people at all. These people lie to themselves, man. They lie to themselves. So you can't be going out there trusting people who aren't even honest to themselves. You know what I mean? You need to practice your skills of deception. You need to accept this philosophy. You need to employ it in your life. And you need to keep those skills sharp through practice and diligence and focus. Because currently, not only is your honesty and your virtue and your morality costing you money, costing you time, costing you relationships, costing you heartbreak, costing you frustration, right? It's preventing you from unleashing your true self because you are riddled with guilt. You are riddled with guilt for trusting your instinct. You are riddled with guilt for not trusting the counterparts. You're riddled with guilt for not trusting your parents who you know are untrustworthy. They betrayed each other. They've betrayed you. They've betrayed their own family. But you still feel guilty for trusting them or not trusting them, right? This is unacceptable. You need to release yourself. You need to give yourself permission to at least explore a different strategy, to at least explore a different philosophy. I mean, there are people who believe in truth, just think about this, that somehow humanity evolved from a fish to a man over billions of years, right? Now, this theory is false for the simple reason that ever since, no other fish has turned into a man. And this process and evolution is quite frankly very efficient. Once evolution, like for example, think about trees. Once a tree has grown to its fullest height, it doesn't stop producing. It just continues to produce at peak capacity, at its maximum height. It produces the same number of fruits every year at maximum capacity, right? If the fish who have reached their maximum capacity were going to evolve into human beings, they would have done so. No fish has ever evolved into a human being. Absolutely not. Right? And if you can accept this type of philosophy, surely you can accept the philosophy of deception, which is far more realistic than believing that a fish can turn into a man. And people believe that. We have been here and recorded everything for thousands of years. At the very least, we would have had a fish go halfway. We would see at least one fish that was somewhere in between man and fish. Some type of evidence of that would exist, and no evidence of that exists, not even as much as a skeleton. Give me a break. And yet, you have accepted these philosophies and embraced them, and all they've done is locked your mind in what is a very small, limited box of what is possible. But if you open your world up to deception and lies in a meaningful, practical, proactive way, right, you can unshackle yourself and free yourself from this guilt. And one of the things that you got to accept is you have to accept that people are lying to you, right? Because if you think that they're not lying to you, then you're lying to yourself. And that's even worse. then that means they've really got you. If you think they are so honest all the time, that means they've got you so entrenched in this philosophy that you are now lying to yourself, even though you know it's true. And it's only after you realize the truth of lies and the lies in the truth, only then do you want to then respond to other people's lies. And by then, that's too late because now you're being responsive and you want to be proactive because by then the damage is done. By the time you've allowed people to lie to you and deceive you and you've taken actions based on those lies, you've paid money based on those lies, you've given time based on those lies and resources and advice, you find yourself giving somebody some heartfelt advice over some difficulty that they're going through, and you pray for them and you engage with them, only to find out that none of that is true. None of it, not a single word was true. And you just feel broken and even though they didn't take any money, but the fact that they had you on your knees praying to God, believing this, is an indication of failure. And that's why you're upset. You're upset because you were manipulated, and you should be, But had you prepared lies for yourself, had you waited to take the enemy unprepared, then you could be confident in your approach, in your deception, in your lies. You could see them coming, And that's what we need to do. We need to prepare you with your own lies and your own deception. And as I promised, I will help you with that. We will go as far as I will put the knife in your hand and show you where to stick it. And together, we will twist the knife for maximum effect. Because we have to be more than professional. We have to be expert. You have to be like a scientist that understands the formulas of molecules, like a mathematician that knows equations, or a linguist that understands diction, or how the clergy understands theology and religious self-righteousness. That is how expert we must be in our philosophy of deception. We must study it every day. Read the Grand Master's words, memorize them, meditate on them, and apply them in all of your dealings. Remember that this philosophy, our philosophy, precedes any religious theology by at least 500 years. It precedes Christianity by at least 500 years, right? So it precedes most popular faiths in the world, right? Which means it hasn't been tainted or filtered or poisoned through these new ideologies like morality and goodness, honesty and truth. Absolutely not. Our philosophy synthesizes the accurate and factual nature of mankind. And with it, you and I, we will conquer. We will thrive. But we must first start by embracing deception as our way of life. And then we must be paranoid so that we can see the deception in others while they are trying to hide it from us. And let's look at the Grand Master's words and see how he suggests we employ these powerful strategies. Sun Tzu says, "Thus we may know that there are 5 essentials for victory. 1. He will win who knows when to fight and when not to fight. 2. He will win who knows how to handle superior and inferior forces. 3. He will win whose army is animated by the same spirit throughout all its ranks. 4. He will win who prepared himself, waits to take the enemy unprepared. And 5. He will win who has military capacity and is not interfered with by the sovereign. These are words that we read before in employing in a different scenario and situation. But let's see now how this situation applies with your lies, or these words, this lesson applies with your deception and your lies. He will win who knows when to lie and when not to lie if we translate this to our circumstance. You need to know when to employ certain lies. I have two scenarios where, on the one hand, you are at work and you are deceiving your colleagues at work, and you want to deceive them through omission, right? You do not want to be sharing personal, private information and details with your colleagues, right? You don't want these people knowing things about you that you, quite frankly, don't want them to know. But you also don't want to be lying about important things like your performance and your work history or your academic qualification. So keep that side of you very official. But when it comes to your social circle, your aspect or social aspect of life, you need to be lying to these people about everything all the time. You really need to be deceptive. You need to send them on a wild goose chase, have them looking in a different direction. Don't even tell them what you do for a living. My cover story is I'm a divorce lawyer, and I never actually give legal advice, but I will have social conversations about relationships. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer, absolutely not a lawyer, or a divorce lawyer for that matter. I just want to have you in a situation where we're discussing your vasectomy, and I don't want you knocking on my door, coming to my job, telling me I have a YouTube channel, right? Asking me about my opinion. As if, I mean, I'm sitting here for an hour a day telling you my opinion. I don't need those problems, man. So you got to know where and when to employ your lies, right? So you can get the most effective outcome for them, right? He will win who knows how to handle both superior and inferior forces. So, again, we said that this means that you have an inferior army and you're fighting against a superior army, or you are in an inferior position fighting against a superior army, or vice versa, where you are the superior army fighting against an inferior opponent. Effectively, you need to know what type of lies you need to tell people that are richer than you and people that you're not richer than, right? So people that are richer than you and people that are less richer than you, rather, let me say like that. I don't want to use a defamatory word, but you know what I mean, right? Less economically viable. And on the one hand, you may want opportunity from the people who are superior to you, right? You don't want them, you don't want to be dismissive of them, right? But also you don't want to be insulting to them, right? Because they may hold the key to opportunity. So you also don't want them knowing things about you that, quite frankly, they may disapprove of. So you definitely want to tread carefully with superiors. But also, you don't want inferior people besmirching your name, discrediting your work, or coming to your place, starting to your workplace, starting drama. You want to dismiss these people, but you want to dismiss them in a way where revenge is not a possibility. So if you do dismiss them, try to make sure that you know they don't come back to you, right? If you're gonna burn a bridge, get as far away from that bridge as you possibly can. He will win whose army is animated by the same spirit throughout all its ranks. You are the army in this analogy, and you have to have one spirit and one standard, right? Throughout all your ranks, and you are part of those ranks, right? If you are the general, if you're the leader in your own army and you see yourself as such, you need to be clear in your mind and in your philosophy. You cannot be practicing the deceptive arts. You cannot be preaching the deceptive arts if, on the one hand, you are still holding on to false morality. This is hypocrisy. It's inconsistent and it's a lie. It's a contradiction, and a contradiction is a lie. You must embrace the deceptive arts in their fullest so that you can be of one spirit and one mind. And if you are of one spirit and one mind, you will uphold that standard of deception, quality, quantitative deception. This is what you really want. You want to be an effective liar, clear-minded liar. That's why you have to accept it, not just as a shield, but also as a weapon of offense. You need to become a really good liar, and you got to be clear about it within yourself, because your honesty is going to betray you once again. You don't want to find yourself in the middle of a critical deception and then you fumble it by saying something true. You don't want that. You don't want that. Better to say nothing. It is always better to say absolutely nothing than to tell the truth. Right? You do not want to be that person. And you need to be clear-minded about this. As clear-minded as I am. Right? I'm not emotional about this. I'm not up or down about this. I'm okay with it. I have accepted my lies. I've embraced them. And not only that, I cultivate them, I grow them, and I protect them. They mean something to me. And then they mean nothing at all. Right? This is the nature of lies. You must become this way as a student of the deceptive arts. He will win who prepared himself, waits to take the enemy unprepared. We're going to read this list over and over again under different circumstances, because these are the keys to victory under any circumstances. 5 steps to victory. 5 steps to victory. Why do I need 46 laws? Why do I need 46 steps? 52 steps. 5 steps and we'll get you there. You have to be prepared, guys. You have to be prepared with your lies, and you have to catch the enemy unprepared. You have to dazzle and confuse them. Be unfathomable. Come up with schemes that will confuse them and make them get into their car and drive to unknown destinations, just looking for you all the while you're sitting at home. You have to be prepared with your deception, because if the enemy catches you unprepared with their deception and they impose their will on you while you have no intention of imposing your will on them, you have no deception ready. They will take advantage of your extremity. You have to have deception ready like you have money in your bank account. It has to always be there with you, right? The same way that you cannot put anything other than money in your account and withdraw anything other than money in your account, it must be true with deception and lies. People must get nothing but deception and lies, and then when they try to withdraw, they'll see that there's nothing but deception and lies waiting for them. No matter what they do, they'll just hit a wall full of lies. Because all day long, you're just building these walls. Lies, 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 lies. All day, all night. And you need to be prepared with your lies and your deception. He will win who has deceptive capacity and is not interfered with by the sovereign. You need to be so good with your lies. You need to be ready with them. You need to have them. You need to be skilled. You need to have them practiced. Right? They have to be second nature, instinctive to you. And also, you can't be having these people interfering with you, these clergy, these moral coaches, these life coaches, these spiritual coaches. Man, you got to get rid of these people. Get rid of every kind of coach you have. Lie. You don't need them. Lies are free. You don't need money to lie. But this morality, you have to pay every week to maintain this morality. You have to pay one way or another. You gotta pay a coach, you gotta pay a spiritual advisors, and I mean, you get nothing from these honest people. You get absolutely nothing from these honest people. I mean, there are people that are telling you that, you know, this is your third life. Give me a break, man. This is not your third life. How? How? The genetics from your parents, from your mom and dad didn't exist before. So how can you then be reincarnated? And reincarnated from what? I mean, there's just some crazy things happening in this world. And people are inclined to believe all of them. But in truth, you only need to believe one thing, that you're being lied to. And anyone that says they're telling the truth, they themselves have no idea what the truth really is. So that's a lie. Anyone that tells you that they know the absolute truth is lying. And there are so many people preaching truth, which is an indication in itself of deception. And you need to have deceptive capacity. You need to be paranoid enough to hear that every word that comes out of a person's mouth is a lie. And then you need to be prepared with your own lies to counter their lies. You cannot be waiting for people to lie to you your whole life and have no response. Your next response should be a masterful piece of deception. There are 5 dangerous faults which may affect a general. 1. Recklessness, which leads to destruction. 2. Cowardice, which leads to capture. 3. A hasty temper, which can be provoked by insult. 4. A delicacy of honor, which is sensitive to shame. 5. Solicitude, over solicitude for his men, which exposes him to worry and trouble. Apologies for the slip of the tongue at number 5. But let's go back to number 1. The Grand Master says, recklessness, which leads to destruction, is the first of 5 faults, dangerous faults, which may affect a general. In other words, these are going to lead to your destruction and failure. And the first thing is when you are reckless. And a lot of men are very reckless. You're reckless with your money, you're reckless with your work, you're reckless with your body, you're reckless with your mind, you take illicit substances, you're going out partying every weekend, wasting money, socializing with unscrupulous people. I mean, let me tell you something. If you are out at night at 2 o'clock in the morning, every person that you see in that room, you don't need to know those people. If it's 2 o'clock in the morning and it's full of people, every person in that room, you don't need to know them. Every person at that venue or just outside that venue, you don't need to have nothing to do with them. Because they are going to get violent very soon, if they haven't already. They are going to be belligerent very soon. They are going to be disrespectful very soon. And you, very, very soon, are going to be part of that. Don't say I never told you. You are being reckless. You are reckless, you are careless, and you are going to lead to destruction. This is known. Even if you don't do something wrong, somebody you know will, and you will be associated with that. It is guaranteed. It is absolutely guaranteed. So I'm not saying don't go enjoy the nightlife. I'm just saying look where you are. Just look where you are and look who you're with. And if you're worried about deception, look where you are and look who you're with. You think you can trust those people at 2 o'clock in the morning? You're insane. It's insane to think that. It's insane to think that you can trust drunk people infused with all kinds of substances in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock. In the first thing in the morning, 2 o'clock. I don't know what time of day 2 o'clock in the morning is. Morning, there you go. But it's not the place to be. It's not the place to be. If you have had a vasectomy and you know you are the last of your line and you are not passing any genes forward, you would not find yourself in a dark and dangerous place, right? Because anything can happen and it can come from anywhere. So even if you are careful, you with people who are not, right? So somebody can start something with somebody else and it can escalate to you and it'll take no time at all, right? The intimacy that you've been having with the people that you're having it with no vasectomy, absolute recklessness. Absolute recklessness. This is the first thing that the Grandmaster talks about, you know? Carelessness and immaturity. It's gonna destroy everything you love about yourself, right? Number two is cowardice, which leads to capture. This is that compromise I was talking about. Because of your morality and your goodness and your kindness, you've tried to accommodate all kinds of people and you've had to compromise. And you compromised yourself all the way into a marriage and into 12 years of child support and endless alimony because you keep trying to do the right thing. You keep trying to be fair. And ultimately, you were captured the minute you stopped lying. The minute they convinced you that you were trying to be good, they captured you. And every step thereafter has been part of a very well choreographed and organized, really dance. And you've just been dancing your way into alimony and child support, which is lifetime support for people who, quite frankly, want nothing to do with you, right? Your cowardice, your inability to change, your unwillingness to accept the deceptive arts will lead you to capture by people who, quite frankly, don't care nothing about you. And if they did, they wouldn't be lying to you. They wouldn't be stealing your money and alienating you from your kids. And the fact that you didn't get a vasectomy when you should have at 18, that's a problem, right? This is the problem that got you here in the first place, right? You were scared to do the vasectomy. You're scared to do the vasectomy now, right? You're older, you got time, you got the money, you got the medical insurance, but you're scared. And that fear is going to leave you as soon as that first baby comes. It's going to leave you as soon as that first baby comes. But by then, it's too late. You want to do it before the problem comes. Your cowardice, your fear, your morality, your goodness is exactly what's holding you back. A hasty temper, which can be provoked by insult. I'm going to add that along with number four, a delicacy of honor, which is sensitive to shame. I will be honest with you that I suffered with this for a while. I had a hasty temper and a delicacy to shame, right? It would be easy to insult me and provoke me, especially as a child, into anger, into violence, into fights, all kinds of things. But as an adult, people are not forgiving of that, right? You need to get your temper under control. You need to not be insulted by people no matter what they say to you. Just lie to them instead, right? Have your own lies ready, not insults. Insults will get you ruined. But lies are better than insults, right? But effectively, you don't want a situation where the counterpart knows that you are ill-tempered. And what they can do is provoke you into violence, right? Because they will instigate a conflict just so that they can lose, just so that they can call the police, just so that they can have you charged with a crime and you can be at her mercy, right? So anytime she goes to call the police, it's your second violation. Third violation, you go to jail, right? So now she's giving you three chances and you need to get out of there. You really need to leave, right? You need to do it in such a way that the counterpart cannot come back because they will try to come back, right? And you need to stop having a sensitivity to shame. So you can't let people insult you with their words, calling you racial slurs, insulting your intelligence, insulting your capacity, insulting your hobbies. You really need to get over that, because that is a fast way of triggering your temper, and that's a fast way of getting you into trouble, right? The number one clearest way that you've done something wrong is violence. It's easy to prove and easy to convict, and everybody understands it. Lies are a little bit more intricate. In fact, it's more in most places, it's okay to lie to everyone. It's perfectly legal to lie to people. The only people I think you can't lie to is the judge. But you don't have to tell the police. The police, you can lie by omission. You can just sit there and say absolutely nothing. And that's fair, right? You can't make a statement and say, well, I didn't steal the money when you did, right? But you can say, I don't recall. You can absolutely say, I don't recall, right? But you can't say that to the judge. If you say that to the judge, they'll throw you in jail, because they've heard that a million times. You definitely can't say, I don't recall, to the judge. But you need to get that temper and that sensitivity that you have. You got to let that all go. In fact, just don't have it with you. Just let it go, especially for people that are in management. And I've experienced this before, managing a team of people or a project. And a person to whom I'm supposed to be managing, to whom I'm caring for, to whom I'm responsible for, they don't see it that way. They don't see that you're responsible for them. They see it as you controlling them and telling them what to do, which in truth is kind of the same thing, right? But I've had people, really provoke me because of the position that I'm in. And people outside of work will try and provoke me because they know the position that I hold at work, right? And this would induce, real aggression in me. And at work, you can't show it, but you carry that aggression with you. And even though you can't let that aggression out, it still shows, it's still there. You had to let that go. One thing I had to remind myself was that a lot of people are still new to Earth, right? You're not just new to the job, you're new to Earth. First of all, welcome to Earth, all right? Secondly, do not trust your eyes, they are deceiving you, right? But you need to remember that a lot of people can be quite young and immature, and they don't really understand the seriousness of things, and they might not for some time. So there's a part of you that hopes they'll grow out of it, but even if they don't, you really can't carry people's attitudes along with yours, right? You just got to ignore it and let it go. Apologize for that noise. It just bumped a plate on my table. Number 5 is over solicitude for his men, which exposes him to worry. This is when you care too much. This is that morality I was talking about. When you start to care about your kids too much, you care about your wife too much, you care about her parents, your siblings, the community, everybody. Suddenly you're just worried about everyone, right? This over solicitude for your own people is going to lead you to worry. You need to accept that you can't control anyone. Your number one power, your true power, is self control. You need to find a way to just not care about these people, right? I know it sounds like a harsh thing, but if you're going to be deceptive to your kids, you have to have an element there where, quite frankly, these kids may or may not like you, even though they need you. And it's great that they need you. It's good to feel like you're being needed, but you have to lie to them. You have to lie to them. And you can't worry what the effects of those lies are going to be. You have to get these kids under control, man. Because some of these kids is wild, and they will really break things, expensive things. So you really need to keep your kids under control. And since you can't be using corporal punishment, which has been banned in almost every area of life, it just leaves you with deception, right? You can't be cruel to them. You can't take things away from them, right? You can't take away their phones. You can't take away nothing that they need. Because honestly, they really need these things, right? You take away his laptop, he can't do any homework now, can't do any research, you know? So even though they use these things for fun and games, they actually need them for work, right? And so do you. So you can't really be taking things away from them. But what you can do is induce a severe deception. You know, you could steal the stuff that they need and just say you have no idea what happened to it. And after a certain amount of time that you are satisfied that they've been looking and they understand the value of things, maybe you'll decide to return it or steal it and sell it. What difference does it make? You know what I mean? Your kids misbehave. You can't take away their stuff. Just wait for them to go to school, steal the thing, and sell it, and buy yourself something nice. And come back and say you have absolutely no idea what happened. And watch them spend all day looking for it. Because they like to break things, right? They like to steal, they like to lie. There have to be consequences. And every time they do something, they gotta notice that, hey, things keep going missing. Every time I behave badly, things go missing. And they never come back. This is how you teach lessons with deception. All that shouting, all that screaming means absolutely nothing. And just look at him. One day he's gonna stop, he's gonna look at you, he's gonna ask you, do you know where my stuff is? And you just hit him with that same line. I don't know what happened. Because he's going to tell you, oh, I don't know what happened. And you tell him the same thing. I don't know what happened. Teach him some responsibility. Use deception, man. Don't use force. Force is only going to get you arrested, man. Those child care people, I don't know what you call them, they'll come at you, right? So you really need to defend yourself and use deception. Lie to your kids and get them to act right. But don't be feeling worry and trouble over people who, quite frankly, will go out of their way to put themselves in harm's way just so that they'll see if you'll rescue them. Just so you can prove your love for them. They'll put themselves in harm's way to try and induce you to risk your life in order to protect them. Absolutely not. You have to let them live out the consequences of their decisions. You really have to do this, especially with these kids. Let's continue with confidence. If we know that our men are in a condition to attack, but are unaware that the enemy is not open to attack, we have only gone halfway to victory. If we know that the enemy is open to attack, but we are unaware that our own men are not in a condition to attack, we have gone only halfway towards victory. If we know that the enemy is open to attack, and also that our own men are in a condition to attack, but are unaware that the nature of the ground makes fighting impractical, we have still only gone halfway to victory. These are very powerful words by the Grandmaster, and let's analyze them for their true value. He says, if we know that we are in a position where we can lie to the counterpart or to the bender, but we are not aware that the bender is not open to receiving our lies, then we have only gone halfway towards victory. So having a good lie and not being able to deliver that lie, or having somebody who is really, quite frankly, tired of your lies and they are just not in the mood to believe you, right? Then we have an impasse, and that means we are not going to get the outcome that we want. So you need to have somebody who is open to your deception. So you need to be cautious and careful with your deception and use it wisely so that you can use it again to an open enemy. But if they've caught you in a deception, they're going to shut that down and you won't get another opportunity. If we know that the enemy is open to deception, but we are unaware that our own men are not in a condition to deceive, we have only gone halfway to victory. So if the enemy is really trusting of you and open to receive deception and misdirection from you, but you have no deception prepared. Remember, be ready, right, for the enemy, and then you catch them unprepared, right? So if they come in and they are ready and open with trust for your deception, but you have none for them, then indeed we have only gone halfway to victory. You need to be prepared, right? You need to be prepared to catch the enemy unprepared. However, if we are in a position to deceive and the enemy is in a position to be deceived, but the environment doesn't allow you to deliver that deception, what we need is not just a person who is susceptible to our deception. You also, in fact, most people are susceptible to deception, so you don't actually need to pick somebody. You just need to pick the right deception. But if you have the right deception and a person to deceive, but you're in an environment, say, for example, a nightclub establishment, and you can't be heard, you can't land your descriptions, you can't, you're not audible to that person. If the environment, maybe you are at work and you want to make social plans, which for me is an absolute no, right? Or you want to make serious plans with the counterpart in a serious environment, which you know you absolutely, absolutely cannot do, right? You can't take those people seriously, not for a second. Your victory will not be complete. Your victory will not be complete, and many men do this. They go truly halfway towards most of their victories and most of the things that they want, and it's usually because they themselves are not ready. The people that they're working with, they are either not ready or the environment is not ready, right? It's one or all of these, and in many cases it's all of these, and you need a combination of them in order to achieve complete success. But you cannot have a delayed success. You cannot have a person to whom you're lying to every day, for years and years and years and years. Eventually, you'll be caught out of your lies. That's always completely, completely unsustainable. For our final slide, there's actually a spelling mistake that led to a grammatical mistake ultimately in the bottom line, but we will do it with confidence. Fortunately, I know this entire manuscript down to every punctuation, so I'll be able to read it correctly for our video today. It says here, we cannot enter into alliances until we are acquainted with the designs of our neighbors. He who exercises no forethought, but makes light of his opponents, is sure to be captured by them. The general who advances without coveting fame and retreats without fearing disgrace, whose only thought is to protect his country and do good service for his sovereign, is the jewel of the kingdom. This bottom section here, the general who advances without, it's not covering shame, it should be coveting, in other words, desiring, chasing after fame, or retreats, there's an S missing there, without fearing disgrace. So this is how much I've read this book. I have literally memorized it. So I can quickly tell if a copy of The Art of War is authentic or not just by reading through it. Just by flipping a random page and reading it, I can tell you if there's a single mistake in it. I have absorbed it. Truly, I have. So I'm giving it to you from a genuine place, right? Let's use the word genuine. The Grand Master says, we cannot enter into alliances until we are acquainted with the designs of our neighbors. This means you cannot trust anyone. You can't have people coming into your life and embedding themselves into your existence if you don't know what their plans are. And quite frankly, you don't know what their plans are. You don't know what their plans are for their lives. You don't know what their plans are with their money. You don't know what their plans are for their bodies or their minds. You really don't. And you meet someone at a later stage in life and you believe that they are just willing to be a participant, a willing participant in your own existence. That's very egotistical. That's very egotistical. Now, unfortunately, some counterparts will indicate that, and that's a falsehood. And I myself have been put in a situation where I found myself making plans and calculations that included a counterpart, only to discover that all the counterpart wanted was to know that they were included in my plans, right? She just wanted to know that she is part of something and somebody wants her to be part of something. She wanted the feeling of belonging. She had absolutely no intention of executing a single plan that I had made. And this was the kind of person who would demand that you plan something and then criticize that all you ever do is what all she ever does is what you plan for her. And then she would demand that you plan something for her. This was a very frustrating individual, right? Obviously it was never gonna work, right? And what upset me, in truth, what really upset me was when she indicated that she wanted me to plan a specific type of, how do I say this, project. I like the word project. And undermined that project at every step of the way. And then when I called her out on her undermining it, she then turned and said, oh, no, no, no. What's happening is your plan, right? So I said, paint the wall red. She painted it blue and said, no, 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 this is part of your vision. And I had to tell her straight, there's no way that this is any part of my vision. I said, look at this catastrophe. You're telling me that I orchestrated a catastrophe? I deliberately orchestrated a catastrophe. The wall is supposed to be red, it's blue. Who bought the blue paint? Right? And she said, no, I thought I made the decision. And I said, so you're the problem here. You're the problem here. You can't follow orders and then you're not accountable for the decisions that you make. You chose the wrong color paint and then claim that this paint was my vision. I was like, no. This is a deliberate setup. This is a setup. This is an obvious setup. And I'm already paranoid. So you can't go and change a color on me. Right? I will, I'm not going to appreciate your creativity. All it's going to do is spur on more paranoia. Now I know I can't trust her. Right? Obviously, it wasn't going to work out. If you don't know what people's plans are and they don't have the same spirit and there is not the same spirit throughout all of your ranks, you're not going to work out. You're going to have a problem. You need to have a unified vision and a unified goal and the same standard, one standard. Not a vision, not a dream, a standard. So a series of actions that must be completed on a daily basis. And if they're not completed on a daily basis, that means the standard is not being upheld. Now the counterpart hates this. They absolutely hate this. They hate the monotony of accountability. So, they'll try and abscond in some way. But ultimately, the minute they abscond, then you know that the standard is not being maintained and something is wrong. That's how you know that things are wrong. If you are working with a flimsy philosophy, when things start going wrong, you won't be able to identify those things. If you don't have a set standard, when things go below standard, you won't be able to identify it. Because once people, we read before that one of the things that people lie about is their performance. So if they're not doing something very well, they're going to lie about it, right? So that's really one of the things that people lie about, especially at work. So if you don't have a standard and people don't perform up to par, and you ask them if they are, they're going to lie to you. Absolutely, they're going to lie to you. So you need to know what people's designs are. You need to know what their plans are. And then don't follow them. Absolutely not. He who exercises no forethought, no planning, but makes light of his opponents, underestimates his opponent, is sure to be captured by them. I tell you all the time to not underestimate the counterpart. I tell you all the time that these people have no bottom, they have no limit, there is no extent to which they will not go, especially with their deception. And you need to be the same. You need to have foresight. You need to be able to understand and accept that people are lying to you all the time. And the minute that you see that you start trusting somebody, you need to understand that you are now lying to yourself, right? It's just lies all around. But you cannot be lying to yourself, right? Better to lie to everyone than to lie to yourself, right? That's just denial, right? But you need to have forethought. If you are paranoid already, then all you do is you anticipate problems, right? And you can anticipate a counterpart's deception, which I did. I absolutely anticipated a counterpart's deception. And the first thing I did was I insulated my finances immediately, right? And made sure that while she had money of her own, I had money of my own. And my earnings did not go into hers, nor did her earnings come into mine. I made sure that we were separate but different, you know. And eventually, it made the separation easier because then I was able to continue by myself successfully, at least in terms of paying my own way. I'm still very successful at it. But once I anticipated a deception, I was able to foresee the collapse, and I was able to at least protect myself from it. I couldn't protect myself from betrayal and such things. No one can. But you can protect your finances, right? And you can insulate those finances, right? But if you underestimate, and one thing that I'm glad I didn't was I didn't underestimate the counterpart, nor did I overestimate her affections for me. I really calculated both advantages and disadvantages, and I was prepared to make great advances in the name of my liberation and freedom. I was willing to move to another country to the other side of the world in the name of liberation. And it may very well have come to that. It really may have, you know. But you really cannot underestimate the counterpart or the bender. You can't underestimate how far a bender will go with their lies. These are people who tell you that they're happy in a marriage, in a sexless marriage. These are people that tell you that they're happy with their belligerent children, petulant children, aggressive children that break things. They break TVs because they lost a video game. Everything they touch breaks. They have no concept of their strength or distance. So they can't tell how far things are. So they overthrow and break things, you know. So you can't trust the benders either. On no circumstances can you trust a bender, right? Even if he's your friend. I had many friends that were benders, and we ended up not talking at all. And it wasn't because I hate them or anything like that. It was really because we have a different philosophy. I mean, just listen to my life philosophy. There's not many people going to subscribe to this. But those that do will thrive, I guarantee that. But those who believe in faith and morality are going to end up bending the knee. And when you bend that knee, it's going to destroy your life, and all you're going to do is hope for faith and morality. When what you need to do is you need to start lying to your wife and start lying to her lawyer, right? And you need to send those people on an expensive wild goose chase while you get your lawyer to file a motion for her to pay your lawyer fees. And then you hit her with $1 million bill so she can stop harassing you through the courts. That's how I would do it. But, you really, really can't underestimate those people, the counterpart, and how far they will go. You need to be able to go just as far and be just as deceptive, and then a little bit more than that. The general who advances without coveting fame and retreats without fearing disgrace, whose only thought is to protect his country and do good service for his sovereign, is the jewel of the kingdom. The Grand Master says, I say all the time, maybe I haven't said it on this platform, you need to attack without seeking fame, and you need to retreat without feeling shame. Your advances, if you decide to lie to someone or decide not to lie to someone, so we have two techniques of lying. You can lie overtly, or you can lie by omission, right? If you decide to lie by omission, right, you need to do that without feeling any disgrace. If you need to retreat, if you need to hide, if you need to, how they say, lay low, if you need to preserve yourself, because we're preaching self-preservation, the art of self-preservation, right? How to endure in this life. If you need to retreat in order to preserve yourself, you need to do that and think of it as a strategic move. Your survival is the most important thing. Your continuance is the most important thing. And part of that means not fighting in situations where you're not sure you're going to win. In fact, I would advise only fighting situations where you are guaranteed a victory, where you walk in and everybody trembles in fear. Victory assured. Then you can fight all day long. But I would not fight with somebody of equal strength or superior strength. I would not hit somebody who can hurt me back. Even if they can hit me in the same way, I would not want to be hurt by the same power that I can hurt other people. That's a tremendous pain, right? I wouldn't want to experience that pain. So my advice is absolutely do not pick on somebody your own size. Pick on the smaller guy. Take the advantage. Take the win. Improve your own, boost your own self-esteem, and be successful, right? But do it strategically, right? Don't go fighting a superior opponent, hoping for the strength of the underdog, the adrenaline of the underdog to give you power, because it won't. And you'll get destroyed, right? So go to where you know you're going to win. Retreat without feeling any shame. If you can see this guy is bigger and stronger than you, richer, more powerful than you, don't take your girlfriend to a place where men are richer than you, man. You know what I'm saying? Don't take your girlfriend. Retreat without feeling shame. These men are richer, more powerful, more famous, with more notoriety. It only takes a split second for them to notice your girl and it's over. Right? Only take your girl to places where you are the man, where you are seen as the great one, as the ancient one, as the bachelor supreme, where you stand supreme. Don't take your girl to an NBA game, man. Are you out of your mind? Don't take your girl to Wall Street. Are you crazy? What are you doing, man? Don't take your girl to a yacht party. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If she finds herself at a yacht party, it must be because somebody else was stupid enough to take his girl to where the billionaires are. Are you insane? That is literally one of the craziest things I've ever heard in my life. I've never taken a woman anywhere where I wasn't the man, where at least I wasn't one of the richest people in the room. You don't do that, man. You don't bring your girl to work where she can see you be an underling. You know what I mean? You want her to think that you are the lead attorney in divorce crimes and you're running the thing. Keep her away from your job, man. Keep your spouse away from work, right? Don't even bring her to the Christmas party. Don't even bring her to the Christmas party. You know what I mean? Only take your woman to a place where you are the man. And always refuse to go to places where you're taking her to an NBA game where everybody there is richer than you. You're insane. You're absolutely insane. Every single person from the coach to the staff to the TV pundits is literally richer than you. Millionaires are walking around freely, and there's you broke with your girl. You cannot be serious. You cannot be telling me that you are expecting a serious outcome from this, right? You seriously need to put yourself in a position where defeat is not possible. Stop going to places where you have no power for accomplishment, right? Because now all you've done is you've just weakened yourself. You need to wait until you're richer than these NBA guys and then go with your girl. That's about 20, 30 years from where you are. And that's worth the wait. It's really worth the wait. That 20, 30 years will go by very quickly for you. But what you don't want is you don't want to be a broke guy in a room full of millionaires. That's insane. That's like taking a taxi when everybody's driving around in Lamborghinis. And your girl is supposed to watch the Lamborghinis go by while she's waiting for the Uber to come pick her up. Even the Uber's waiting for the Lamborghinis to go by. Come on, man. Be serious. Stop going to these NFL, NBA, Premier League games. And if you go by yourself. Definitely don't take your girl, man. Definitely don't take your girl to where men are richer than you. Don't take her to no millionaires. Don't take her to see no rappers. Don't take her to see no actors, no celebrities. Don't even take her to LA. Just don't even go to LA or Miami. Go somewhere where you are the man. And only go to Miami and LA and New York when you are the man. Or go alone. But definitely don't take your girlfriend to places where men are richer than you. Or more famous than you. Or more powerful than you. That's absurd, man. Be smart. Be smart. Right? Listen to how the Grandmaster concludes. He says, whose only thought is to protect his country. By the way, you are the country that needs protecting. And do good service for his servant. Is the jewel of the bachelor life. The man who can act in this way, to put yourself before society. Self before society. It means you put yourself above the politicians, above the presidents, above the NBA players, the Premier League players, the NFL players, the coaches, the staff, the celebrities, the actors, the rappers. You have to look at them as your competition and find a way to supersede them. And the way to do that is by first getting a vasectomy. Because all those men are going to be ruined by child support. Right? So you make sure that all my enemies, if you are an NBA, NFL player, and you think your money can stand up against a vasectomy, I happily accept that challenge. If you're a millionaire and a billionaire and a celebrity, and you think your celebrity can stand up against my vasectomy, I happily accept that challenge. Right? I would happily be broke and take my girl and sit front row seat at the NBA game, knowing that those players are going to steal her. As soon as you steal my girl, I will sentence you to 18 years of child support. Beginning tonight. This is what the vasectomy does. You steal a girl from a vasectomite, you are sentenced to 18 years of child support. The two of you can figure this out, right? But as for you, I would go nowhere near that NBA game because it's going to ruin you. Me, I would love nothing more than these egotistical men to try and steal my girl. Oh, please have her. Please have her. I cannot wait to be standing outside that birthing room while the two of you are pretending that this is going to turn out great. I'll be there watching you sign that birth certificate. I'll be there watching you sign that birth certificate, and then I'll hit you with the magic words. You know those 4 magic words. I'll pull you to the side, Mr. NBA, Mr. NFL, Mr. Hollywood blockbuster, and then I'll whisper to you very clearly, I got a vasectomy. Oh, it's gonna hurt, brother. It is going to hurt you. It is going to hurt you knowing that I brought her to the front row seat at the NBA. And then I walked off to go to the bathroom for 40 minutes. I missed half the game in the bathroom. And I came back and I said, babe, you won't believe what's happening in the bathroom. I was playing Tetris on my phone. I was playing a delightful game of chess on my phone, just waiting for you to give your number out. Just waiting for you to do what you're always going to do. But little do you know, you are in the grasp of a vasectomite. And very soon you'll be pregnant, and the two of you are going to think this is all your plan, but it's not. It is a devious plan by the master of the deceptive arts, weaving the thread, weaving the thread, the spider web, putting you into 18 years of child support, unbeknownst to you. Really, 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 you think I would bring my girl to an NBA game, put her in the front row seat for you? You're insane. You're insane. Your $1 million contract has got you thinking wrong. The only reason I would bring my girl, and not bring the hottest one, the only reason I would bring my counterpart to a front row seat of the game, of an NBA basketball game surrounded by millionaires and billionaires, would be to ruin your life. And I'll do it too. And I'll do it too. And I'll do it for absolutely no reason. What's it to me? What's it to me? I'm not getting her pregnant. This is why you need deception. This is why you need a vasectomy. This is why you need lies. Because they give you back your power and they give you back your control. You need to know how to use these lies. You need to forgo your morality and you need to forget your heroes. These men are not your heroes. They are your competition. These men are not your heroes. These millionaires and billionaires, they are not your heroes. They are not your friends. They are your competition. It is your job to supersede them or evade them. You cannot be taking your loved ones to go see these people. You cannot be bringing your girl to lose her on a special occasion. Are you insane? Are you insane? Not unless you're richer than them. You can't do that. You need to strengthen your deceptive arts and protect yourself. Protect your seed. Protect your commitment. And protect your lies. You need to get more lies and you need to protect them. This is the Ancient One. This is the Bachelor Supreme with another heartfelt video. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. Have a nice day.